The upcoming Mars transit in Virgo, set to occur from July 28th to September 13th, 2025, marks one of the more intense and meticulous passages of this dynamic planet. Mars, the fiery commander of the planetary army, represents action, assertion, courage, competition, desire, war, and willpower in Vedic astrology. Its transit in the earthy and analytical sign of Virgo, governed by Mercury, brings about a dramatic shift from bold action to precise execution. This period emphasizes hard work, problem-solving, health consciousness, and critical thinking across the collective energy field. As Mars operates through Virgo, the warrior must swap his sword for a scalpel, favoring strategy over brute strength and precision over aggression. It is essential to note that these interpretations are based on sidereal or Vedic astrology, which accounts for the approximately 24-degree difference with the tropical zodiac. Mars, being a natural malefic, doesn't entirely feel at home in Mercury's domain. Virgo is a sign concerned with order, cleanliness, health, service, and practical intelligence, whereas Mars seeks direct action and quick results. When these two energies combine, the result is often a time of detailed effort, increased mental and physical restlessness, sharp critiques, and a desire to fix what is broken. On a collective level, this transit often triggers a surge in problem-solving activity, technological repairs, legal or bureaucratic battles, and renewed focus on workplace efficiency and healthcare issues. Mars in Virgo can be likened to the energy of a surgeon, highly skilled, focused, and determined to root out what no longer serves, though it may do so with a level of blunt criticism or perfectionism that can lead to tension if not properly channeled. This year's Mars transit is particularly potent due to its mutual aspect with retrograde Saturn in Pisces. These two planetary heavyweights will oppose each other from Virgo and Pisces, creating a tense axis between practicality and surrender, control and faith, service and sacrifice. Saturn, which governs structure, responsibility, karma, and long-term planning, is currently in a retrograde state, intensifying introspection and karmic accountability. Its position in Pisces, a sign of compassion, confusion, imagination, and spirituality, represents the need to release control and dissolve egoic boundaries. Mars' aspect onto this retrograde Saturn signifies clashes between personal will and divine timing, or between immediate action and long-term responsibilities. People may feel pulled between trying to fix everything in the material world, Virgo Mars, and surrendering to a higher flow, Pisces Saturn. This mutual aspect can lead to frustration, fatigue, or confrontation, especially in areas related to healthcare, institutions, legal systems, service industries, spiritual communities, and foreign affairs. At the same time, Mercury, the ruler of Virgo, is retrograding in Cancer, in conjunction with the Sun during initial period of this Mars transit. Mercury retrograde often brings a mental rewind, requiring us to reassess, revise, or recommunicate matters, especially those linked to family, emotions, the past, or homeland. Cancer themes. With the Sun combusting Mercury, there's heightened intensity in how we express ourselves, which may come off as overconfident, egoistic, or misinformed. Since Mars is acting through Virgo, a Mercury-ruled sign, its decision-making and execution are indirectly affected by this retrograde and combust Mercury. This may lead to delays, miscalculations, or emotionally charged arguments, especially in professional settings, healthcare situations, and family dynamics. It's a time where efficiency must be married with emotional intelligence. Otherwise, decisions made hastily can backfire due to overlooked details or miscommunication. During this period, Venus and Jupiter are transiting together in Gemini, another Mercury-ruled sign. This softens the overall environment by introducing diplomacy, intellectual creativity, and a sense of humor or optimism, even in the face of Virgo's perfectionist energy. However, it also creates a tendency for people to over-idealize solutions, intellectualize emotions, or avoid deeper discomfort by talking around core issues. The contrasting energies of Mars in Virgo, analytical, and Jupiter-Venus in Gemini, expressive, may produce confusion between what feels good to say and what must be said to bring real resolution. From a global perspective, Mars in Virgo can trigger a heightened focus on medical advancements, labor strikes, employee rights, pharmaceutical industries, nutrition, and mental health systems. There may also be a rise in military protocols related to health, quarantine, or humanitarian service, especially considering the Saturnian aspect from Pisces. On a psychological level, this transit activates the collective urge to fix everything, whether in society, systems, or relationships. While this can lead to meaningful reform, it may also cause mental and physical burnout if individuals forget to balance work with rest and critique with compassion. The sixth sign of the zodiac, Virgo, represents service, enemies, health, debts, and discipline, and Mars energizing this house universally tends to stir up conflict in these areas, not just in individual charts, but also globally. We may see hidden enemies becoming more visible, or bureaucratic inefficiencies being challenged. It's a time of repair, purification, and adjustment, but not without friction. Mars doesn't like being constrained, and Virgo imposes mental and procedural boundaries, which may result in internal tension manifesting as anxiety, stomach issues, or workplace unrest. The best way to navigate this transit is through mindful productivity. Rather than trying to control everything, individuals would benefit by prioritizing what's truly essential, improving daily routines, taking care of health matters, and avoiding unnecessary criticism, both toward others and the self. It's an ideal time for cutting through inefficiencies, embracing physical wellness practices, and refining systems and communication styles. But it's also important to slow down, especially with Mercury retrograde, and take time for emotional clarity before acting. It's crucial to perceive Mars as the planet of action. Wherever it transits in the chart or during transit, it ignites activity in matters associated with that specific house. If Mars is well positioned in the chart and during transit, it also takes on the role of a defender or protector, safeguarding the affairs related to the house it influences. To accurately assess the impact of these transits, it is crucial to consider your ascendant and moon signs. The ascendant sign offers insights into the timing of life events, while the moon sign reveals how you will emotionally respond to these changes. Take into account the position of your current Mahadasha Lord in your birth chart, as it can shed light on how these transits will influence the recurring themes of your current Dasha period. This transit may manifest differently for each individual, and how they navigate this transit will depend on their personal charts. A more precise understanding of the impact of this transit can be gained by examining Mars's Ashtaka Varga score in Virgo. Keep in mind that the effects of this transit are contingent on Mars's interaction with the planets in individual birth charts. It's also worth noting that individuals currently experiencing the influence of Mars Dasha may feel the effects of this transit more intensely. To understand how this transit may affect you based on your zodiac sign and the houses it transits, let's delve into those specifics. For Aries, the upcoming Mars transit in Virgo is a charged period that sets in motion deep transformations related to health, service, work, and conflict resolution. As the ruler of Aries, Mars holds immense significance in shaping both personality and destiny for Aries individuals. In your case, Mars governs both the first house, self, vitality, actions, and the eighth house, transformation, longevity, obstacles, shared resources, and hidden truths. Its current placement in the sixth house of Virgo, associated with daily routine, health, enemies, debts, disease, and service, is a potent transit that can bring both challenges and breakthroughs, depending on how consciously you engage with the energies. Mars, being your sign lord, transiting the sixth house offers a paradoxical strength. The sixth is a house of upachaya, growth through effort and adversity, and Mars is considered to perform well here, because its warrior-like nature thrives in environments that require competition, discipline, and perseverance. You may find yourself more assertive, bold, and resilient, especially when tackling daily responsibilities, professional pressures, and interpersonal disputes. There is an enhanced capacity to overcome opponents or toxic work environments, but it must be navigated with strategic thinking, not impulsive aggression. Since Mars also rules your eighth house, which signifies deep transformation, unexpected events, secrets, or inherited issues, its transit in the sixth house indicates that you may have to face past fears, karmic debts, or health matters that were left unattended. This could be a time when long-buried emotions or anxieties come to the surface. It may not always be visible to others, but internally, this could be a period of profound confrontation with your shadow self, habits that sabotage your well-being, patterns that delay your progress, or resentment that creates blockages in relationships. The connection between the first and sixth houses via Mars brings your identity and energy into alignment with hard work and problem solving. You may feel strongly motivated to restructure your routine, focus on physical health, diet, fitness, or even tackle financial obligations like loans or overdue tasks. There is a warrior-like spirit emerging in how you approach your everyday life. You want results, and you're willing to sweat for them. But because Mars is in Virgo, a detail-oriented and perfection-driven sign, there is a risk of overthinking or micromanaging your energy. The key is to channel your passion into systematic execution, avoiding unnecessary anxiety or burnout. The mutual aspect between Mars in Virgo and retrograde Saturn in Pisces, your 12th house, is one of the defining aspects of this period. Saturn retrograde in the 12th house brings karmic introspection, solitude, and a need to address past decisions, losses, and sacrifices. With Mars casting its 7th aspect onto Saturn, there arises a powerful conflict between external action and internal reflection. You may feel torn between moving forward boldly in your daily life while simultaneously being haunted by unresolved matters from the past or subconscious realms. This dynamic can create mental fatigue, sleep disturbances, or feelings of isolation, especially if you're not addressing your emotional needs alongside your physical tasks. The 12th house also governs hospitals, foreign places, spirituality, and expenditure, so this Saturn-Mars axis may bring themes of health recovery, medical expenses, travel for service-related work, or even confrontations with deeply ingrained fears or escapist tendencies. On the brighter side, this is a spiritually charged configuration that invites healing through discipline, maturity, and honest self-assessment. Adding to the complexity of this transit is the fact that Mercury, the Lord of Virgo, 6th house, is currently retrograding in Cancer, your 4th house of home, inner peace, mother, and emotional security, in conjunction with the Sun, which rules your 5th house. This means that while you are pouring your efforts into external work, health, or service obligations, your inner world may feel unsettled. The retrograde Mercury can bring communication breakdowns or emotional misinterpretations within the family or home environment. You may find yourself revisiting old memories, unresolved family issues, or questioning what makes you feel emotionally anchored. This period could be a great time for spiritual service, working behind the scenes, or engaging in healing practices, such as therapy or meditation. The presence of Saturn in the 12th and Mars in the 6th encourages working with your karmic debts and hidden emotional blocks, possibly even connecting to spiritual disciplines like meditation or selfless service, which can bring tremendous emotional and spiritual growth. From a career perspective, this transit may bring new projects, job changes, or increased workload. You might be dealing with toxic coworkers, micromanaging bosses, or even conflicts around authority, all of which are typical when Mars activates the 6th. If you channel Mars constructively, this could also be a time when you outshine your competitors, win disputes, or develop a powerful work ethic that gets recognized later. If you're involved in legal issues, contract negotiations, or service-based work, stay sharp. Hidden loopholes or communication errors could cause delays or require rework. Health-wise, this is a good time to address chronic issues or detox. Due to the tension between Mars and Saturn and the retrograde motion of Mercury, it's best to avoid self-diagnosing or abruptly changing medical plans. There can be digestive sensitivity, inflammation, or stress-related fatigue, especially if your work-life balance is skewed. Prioritize routines that support nervous system regulation, good sleep, grounding foods, and calming activities like walks or meditation. Your financial life may also need careful attention, with Mars activating both the 2nd and 8th house themes indirectly, and Saturn in the 12th house. Expenditure could rise, possibly due to medical costs, debts, or family obligations. But this is also a time when consistent effort can help you slowly build back control over financial chaos, especially if you're managing old loans or trying to restructure spending habits. On the relational front, you may seem distant or irritable to others, especially if your mind is burdened with work, health, or existential thoughts. Take time to explain your perspective calmly. This isn't a very romantic period, but it can be a time for selfless acts in relationships, helping a loved one through illness or offering quiet support. Beware of projecting frustration onto those closest to you. Overall, this Mars transit in Virgo for Aries individuals is both physically demanding and spiritually awakening. It's a time to clean house, literally and metaphorically, address health issues, confront inner and outer enemies, and realign your daily life with purpose. The mutual aspect between Mars and Saturn brings karmic tests and pressures, especially around health and solitude. Mercury's retrograde in Cancer calls for reflection on what truly nurtures your heart, especially when outer achievements feel draining. With balance, discipline, and conscious self-work, this transit can purify your mind, body, and spirit, and pave the way for a renewed life direction post-September. For Taurus, the Mars transit into Virgo brings a complex, highly charged energy into the 5th house, the domain of creativity, intelligence, romance, education, children, and speculative gains. Mars governs the 7th house of partnerships and marriage, and the 12th house of isolation, losses, expenses, foreign lands, and spiritual liberation. These themes will now be filtered through the analytical, earthy, and perfection-seeking lens of Virgo, highlighting a period where the blending of relationships, creativity, and your psyche becomes intense and transformative. With additional influences such as retrograde Saturn in Pisces, 11th house, Venus, your sign lord, transiting Gemini in conjunction with Jupiter, and Mercury, the ruler of Virgo, retrograding for a part of this transit, this period is far from simplistic. It requires careful awareness, emotional maturity, and focused effort to navigate the shifts it brings. When Mars enters the 5th house, it ignites passions around matters of the heart and mind. The fifth house represents not just love and romance, but also self-expression, talents, and the desire to shine in one's individuality. Mars in Virgo, an enemy sign ruled by Mercury, struggles to act freely or smoothly. Virgo demands precision, caution, and analysis, while Mars is driven by impulse and bold initiative. This contradiction often leads to mental agitation and frustration. For Taurus individuals, this may manifest as creative blocks, difficulties in romantic relationships, or restlessness about educational or career progress. You may feel eager to take bold steps in love, express your ideas publicly, or pursue creative goals, but something always pulls you back to reassess or overthink each move. In love and dating, this Mars transit could bring strong emotions and passionate encounters. Due to the Mars-Mercury friction and the 12th house rulership of Mars, there's a strong possibility of secretive relationships, hidden desires, or complications arising in romantic situations, especially if either party is not being fully transparent. There's also the chance that a romantic connection could be linked to someone from a foreign country, an online medium, or through travel. But be mindful, the 12th house also relates to illusions and deception. Since Mars is carrying this 12th house influence into the 5th, discernment is important in matters of the heart. Be wary of impulsive attractions that are not grounded in reality or mutual understanding. Mercury's retrograde until August 11th can cause delays or misunderstandings in communication with lovers or children, further complicating the emotional landscape. From another angle, the 5th house also rules education, especially higher or intellectual learning. Students and learners may feel pressure to perform but find themselves overanalyzing every detail, leading to anxiety or indecision. Mars's presence here adds a drive to succeed, but Virgo's mental scrutiny can bring perfectionism that borders on paralysis. For those working in creative industries, writing, or performance arts, this can be a demanding period of refinement. You may become extremely self-critical or excessively focused on perfecting your craft. This could either elevate your work or delay your progress if you allow your inner critic to take over. Mars in Virgo is excellent for detailed tasks, so this is a good time to edit, revise, or rework creative projects. Initiating new artistic endeavors or romantic relationships may require caution and clarity. Mars, as the 7th lord, also brings relationships, marriage, and partnerships into focus during this time. Since the 5th house is naturally connected to romance and the 7th house rules commitment, you may find yourself examining whether a relationship should move from the stage of love to something more serious. This could be a time when discussions about commitment, loyalty, and shared values surface, but the Mars-Mercury friction may cause such conversations to turn argumentative or lead to misinterpretation. If you're married or in a long-term relationship, this transit can introduce some tension, especially regarding children, future planning, or differing views on creativity and lifestyle. Patience and clear, empathetic communication are essential here. On the brighter side, if both partners are aligned and emotionally mature, Mars here can deepen the emotional and sexual bond, provided both avoid unnecessary criticism and control. The 12th house rulership of Mars suggests that this period may also touch upon issues of letting go, karmic connections, or even past life themes in relationships. Some Taurus individuals may find that a romantic interest has a karmic undertone or evokes subconscious fears and insecurities. Alternatively, it could be a time when you need to emotionally release an attachment to someone or something that no longer serves your growth. On a more practical level, this Mars placement may bring sudden expenses related to children, education, entertainment, or hobbies. It's wise to be cautious with speculative investments or gambling during this time, as impulsive risks could lead to losses rather than gains. Another vital element of this transit is the mutual aspect between Mars and retrograde Saturn in Pisces, 11th house. The 5th and 11th house axis is about personal joy versus social approval, individual expression versus group identity, and romantic ideals versus practical expectations. Mars and Saturn both being malefic and vastly different in pace and approach. Mars acts fast, Saturn delays. This aspect can bring inner conflict. You may feel the urge to express your creativity, assert your romantic desires, or act on new ideas, but Saturn's influence might create fear, doubt, or roadblocks through peer pressure or societal expectations. Friendships or associations may test your patience, and long-term goals may feel distant or out of reach. This aspect can also create friction in your network circle, or you may feel like your efforts to gain support are being ignored. If this tension is channeled into discipline and structure, it can help you lay long-term foundations for your creative and intellectual aspirations. At the same time, your sign Lord Venus is transiting Gemini, your 2nd house of wealth, speech, and family values, and is conjunct Jupiter, the planet of expansion and wisdom. This is a powerful placement because it suggests that despite the emotional and mental friction Mars may bring, your overall ability to stabilize your finances, attract abundance, and express yourself sweetly is amplified. Venus and Jupiter together in the second house can bring gains through communication, business, or family connections. Your words may carry more weight now, and despite Mars's harsh edge in the fifth, this Venusian influence can help you soften your expression, especially when speaking with loved ones or negotiating tricky emotional dynamics. Overall, the Mars transit through Virgo for Taurus individuals will activate a period where creativity, romance, and personal expression are tested and refined. With Mars ruling two houses that relate to both committed relationships and deep unconscious patterns, its presence in the fifth house brings both intensity and opportunity. While challenges may arise, especially in love, with children, or around confidence, this is a rich time for growth, artistic refinement, and emotional healing. With your sign Lord Venus strongly placed and supported by Jupiter, you're likely to find the grace and support needed to navigate this intense but transformative time. Keep your emotions balanced, focus on realistic outcomes, and let go of expectations that don't align with your deeper truth. For Gemini, the transit of Mars through Virgo sets in motion a significant period focused around home, emotional stability, real estate matters, family life, and personal security. Mars, as the ruler of the 11th house of gains, ambitions, social networks, and elder siblings, as well as the 6th house of conflicts, service, routine, enemies, debts, and health, enters your 4th house, a space where it is traditionally considered to lose its directional strength. This transit unfolds under a complex planetary backdrop. Retrograde Saturn in Pisces mutually aspects Mars from the 10th house, forming a heavy, intense Mars-Saturn dynamic. On the other hand, your sign Lord Mercury is retrograde in Cancer, your 2nd house, and Venus, now transiting your 1st house, is conjunct Jupiter, creating a potent field of opportunity amidst internal tension. The 4th house, representing the heart space, home environment, mother, property, and emotional foundation, becomes the battleground for this Mars transit. Mars, being a planet of aggression, assertiveness, and fast-paced energy, is not comfortable in this emotional and nurturing domain, especially in the sign of Virgo, where its fiery nature is challenged by Mercury's cold, analytical, and calculating disposition. Here, Mars feels constrained and confused. The result can often be misdirected anger, frustration at home, disputes with family members, particularly the mother, and impulsive decisions regarding property or domestic changes. For Gemini individuals, this may trigger a desire to make changes at home, renovate, relocate, or assert more control in domestic matters. Mars's weakened directional strength here makes it harder to assert yourself effectively. You might feel internally restless, emotionally unsettled, or even disconnected from your base, yet unable to take decisive steps forward. This creates a volatile emotional climate that must be handled delicately. The influence of Virgo, an earth sign ruled by Mercury, adds a layer of mental and emotional overanalysis. You may find yourself hyper-focused on minute household details, becoming overly critical about the environment, cleanliness, or how things are being managed in your private life. Small inconveniences could suddenly become major frustrations, particularly when Mercury is retrograde, until August 11th, increasing the potential for miscommunication within the family. It's vital to watch your tone, especially with close relatives, as Mars's transit can create sharp speech patterns and impulsive remarks that harm relationships. Since the 4th house governs emotional peace, Mars here has the tendency to stir inner turbulence. Emotional maturity will be your best resource during this period. Rather than reacting, step back, reflect, and respond from a place of calm. The 6th and 11th house rulership of Mars gives this transit a peculiar mix of struggle and success energies. The 6th house influence can bring internal and external challenges to your peace of mind, work pressure spilling into your personal life, or daily routine disruptions that affect your health and mood. The 11th house connection introduces themes of ambition, goal setting, and financial planning. You might feel a growing inner pressure to achieve something grand, move to a better home, or create a more ideal living space. This ambition might collide with your emotional or financial readiness. If this is not handled constructively, Mars can bring unnecessary disputes related to land, housing, or vehicles. There's also a possibility of conflict with tenants, landlords, or legal issues regarding property, especially if other chart factors or dashas point such a scenario. Mutual aspect between Mars and Virgo and Saturn retrograding in Pisces, your 10th house, will be one of the most defining aspects of this transit. This aspect creates a push-pull dynamic between the private and professional areas of your life. The 4th and 10th house axis is the foundational balance between home and career. Saturn, being retrograde in your 10th house, indicates delays, heavy responsibilities, and karmic reviews in your career or public image. Mars, from the 4th house, attempts to take action, often impatiently. The result can be inner conflict, trying to act quickly at home while facing slow progress professionally, or vice versa. For many Gemini individuals, this could feel like being emotionally burdened by work expectations while the home space feels equally demanding. If you are involved in real estate or home-based businesses, this period could bring mixed results. Patience is the key. Mars-Saturn mutual aspects often lead to frustration if one tries to force results. Instead, channel this energy into disciplined, step-by-step action. It can be an excellent time for restructuring home or career if handled with maturity. Mars also casts its fourth aspect on Sagittarius, your seventh house, which represents marriage, partnerships, and clients. This adds another layer of potential friction in relationships. With Jupiter, your seventh lord, currently conjunct Venus in your first house, you may feel highly attractive, open to new partnerships, or emotionally invested in your spouse or partner. But Mars's aspect from Virgo can stir control issues, arguments, or emotional distance in intimate connections, especially if boundaries aren't respected or if communication becomes passive-aggressive. The seventh house also represents the public and contracts, so it is wise to be cautious in all formal negotiations during this period. Conflicts may arise due to misunderstandings, either in personal or business partnerships. Avoid the tendency to micromanage your partner or act from a place of unresolved emotional tension. Mars's seventh aspect on Pisces again emphasizes the home-career balancing act. Saturn's retrograde here demands responsibility, karmic correction, and maturity in your professional life, while Mars adds urgency and sometimes unprepared action. This tension may translate into burnout, especially if you are carrying domestic responsibilities alongside a demanding work life. It would be beneficial to organize your routines better, delegate where possible, and ensure you are not sacrificing your mental peace for unattainable productivity goals. Mars may tempt you to push through the fatigue, but Saturn will hold you accountable if you neglect your well-being. Mars's eighth aspect on Aries, your 11th house, once again brings your social circle, ambitions, and long-term gains into focus. Since Mars rules this house, its self-aspect creates a protective yet intense impact. You may become assertive in achieving your goals, engaging more actively with your network, or initiating projects that align with your greater ambitions. Virgo's critical energy can also make you overly perfectionist or excessively judgmental about others' support, or the lack thereof. Let go of rigid expectations and embrace flexible, strategic action instead. As Mercury turns direct after August 11th, many of the internal doubts and miscommunications will begin to clear up. Also, the Venus-Jupiter conjunction in Gemini is a powerful blessing. Venus as the natural lord of relationships and comforts, and Jupiter as the guru and great benefic, together in your first house bring charm, grace, and wisdom. This influence can soften the harsher effects of the Mars transit, enabling you to find beauty, insight, and joy even amid temporary conflict or stress. Overall, the Mars transit through Virgo activates a sensitive, personal, and foundational part of your chart. With its rulership of both the 6th and 11th houses, it brings ambition, work pressure, and social competitiveness into your private world. Mars's lack of strength in the 4th house means that reacting emotionally or impulsively will only drain your energy. If you embrace this as a time for cleansing, improving your home environment, and learning how to assert yourself calmly and effectively in close relationships, this can be a period of great growth. Patience, clear communication, and inner balance will serve as your anchors. For Cancer, the upcoming Mars transit in Virgo marks a period of strategic action, heightened communication, and focused personal effort. Mars rules the 10th house of career, ambition, and public image, as well as the 5th house of intelligence, creativity, romance, children, and speculative ventures. As Mars transits your 3rd house of courage, initiative, communication, siblings, short journeys, and skill development, the spotlight turns toward how you express yourself, how you pursue your desires, and how confidently you step into action. This transit brings with it both power and challenge, especially considering that Mars will be in mutual aspect with retrograde Saturn in Pisces, your 9th house. Mercury, the lord of Virgo, is retrograde in your 1st house and conjunct the Sun, creating a period of inner reflection, mental recalibration, and emotional truth-seeking. Mars, the fiery warrior, is quite at ease in the 3rd house, as this is a natural zone of courage, effort, and willpower. For Cancer individuals, this brings a strong surge of motivation. You're likely to feel driven to take charge of situations, initiate new plans, and communicate more assertively. Whether it's pursuing personal goals, entrepreneurial ideas, or creative projects, Mars enhances your readiness to act. This transit favors launching something new, especially related to writing, teaching, marketing, or technology-based platforms. You may suddenly find yourself flooded with ideas or drawn toward learning new skills, particularly those that enhance your independence or self-assertion. Mars in Virgo, a sign ruled by Mercury, adds a layer of critical thinking, precision, and perfectionism to your efforts. This is a time to be detailed, cautious, and strategic in how you approach your goals, not impulsive. This third house Mars is not just about outer activity, it also touches deeply upon internal willpower and mental stamina. You are likely to feel more mentally alert, but also more critical, which can either make you sharp or anxious, depending on how you handle pressure. The third house also governs communication, and Mars's influence can make your speech more direct, forceful, or even harsh if not kept in check. Arguments with siblings, neighbors, or colleagues can arise if you become too blunt or defensive. It's important to be mindful of how you express your thoughts. Mars in Virgo tends to dissect information and can come across as overly analytical or fault-finding. If used well, this can be a powerful time for written or spoken communication, as long as you remain tactful and intentional. Mars also represents your 10th house of career and 5th house of intelligence, and now it is activating the 3rd house, a house of skill execution. This combination suggests you'll be actively channeling your creative and intellectual capacities into action, particularly in your professional life. You might be pushing yourself harder to be seen, heard, or acknowledged in your field. Those involved in media, writing, design, education, or communication-based professions will especially feel the push to step into the spotlight. If you're self-employed, this is an excellent time to market yourself more boldly or relaunch something with a better plan. If you're employed, don't be surprised if you feel the urge to ask for more responsibility, take risks, or finally implement ideas you've been holding back. The Mars energy here is about testing your boldness and helping you overcome hesitation. But with Virgo's analytical quality, these actions must be carefully calculated, not impulsive. With Mars mutually aspecting Saturn retrograde in Pisces, 9th house, there is a critical karmic undertone to this period. The 3rd and 9th houses form the axis of willpower versus divine guidance, personal effort versus higher wisdom. Saturn in the 9th brings philosophical questions, slow progress in higher education, or delays in international dealings, travel, or publishing. As Mars directly aspects this Saturn, there can be conflict between what you're trying to do through sheer effort and what life is asking you to slow down and reflect upon. This can manifest as disagreements with mentors or father figures, frustration over delayed travel or legal matters, or a strong need to break free from conventional belief systems. This mutual aspect may also bring about ethical dilemmas, or the need to make difficult choices in matters related to career or education. If you're in a profession involving law, teaching, publishing, or consultancy, this period may bring increased stress or workload. But at the same time, if you persevere, you can build something with long-term impact. The Mercury retrograde in your 1st house is another significant backdrop to this Mars transit. Mercury governs Virgo, where Mars transits, and as it retrogrades in your 1st house, it brings an inner dialogue around self-worth, personal communication, and your ability to think and express clearly. This might be a time of second-guessing yourself or re-evaluating how you present your ideas. Since Mercury is also conjunct the Sun, you may go through a phase of mental purification, shedding false identities, outdated beliefs, or unhelpful thought patterns. This retrograde can trigger self-doubt at first, but ultimately aims to bring clarity about who you are and how you operate in the world. Because of this, be cautious not to react too quickly or harshly in your interactions. Take time to process before you speak or act, especially in emotionally sensitive situations. The 5th house rulership of Mars also makes this transit relevant for creative expression, romance, children, and intellectual pursuits. You may feel a fire to express your unique ideas or to develop a hobby or passion project more seriously. If you're involved in speculative fields like trading, investing, or game theory, Mars in the 3rd can bring both daring and analytical skills, but also the risk of overconfidence. This is not a time to gamble recklessly, especially with retrograde Saturn in the 9th testing your ethical judgment and long-term planning ability. In romantic matters, there could be increased passion or a desire to express your feelings more directly. Virgo's influence on Mars may make you overly analytical or perfectionist in love, wanting everything to be just right before taking a chance. With regard to siblings or close neighbors, Mars's transit may bring heated exchanges or competitive dynamics. This is a good time to resolve long-standing issues through honest conversation, but choose your words carefully. The 3rd house Mars can be combative if not softened by awareness. Be particularly cautious while driving or during short-distance travel. Mars here can bring impatience on the road or minor accidents if you're not attentive. Lastly, this is a favorable time for building physical strength and mental resilience. The 3rd house governs the hands, arms, and nervous system. Engage in exercise, journaling, or any creative movement that helps you release tension and stay sharp. Mars brings energy, but Virgo helps you use it intelligently. Overall, Mars's transit in Virgo activates an important growth cycle for Cancer individuals, one that involves sharpening your skills, asserting your voice, and bridging personal effort with higher wisdom. With your 10th and 5th houses linked, this is a strong time for building professional identity through clear thinking and deliberate action. But with Mercury retrograde in your 1st and mutual Mars-Saturn aspects at play, you must watch for overreaction, fatigue, and mental restlessness. Take bold steps, but only after thorough planning. Listen to your instincts, but test them with reason. For Leo, the Mars transit through Virgo activates your 2nd house of wealth, family, speech, food, accumulated values, and personal security. Mars rules your 4th house, home, property, mother, emotional stability, and 9th house, fortune, higher wisdom, father, dharma, and as it enters practical and detail-oriented Virgo, it turns your attention to foundational matters, your money, family responsibilities, and your core values. Mars will mutually aspect retrograde Saturn in Pisces, your 8th house. Mercury, the Lord of Virgo, is retrograding in Cancer, your 12th house, while Ketu continues its transit through your 1st house, Leo. Together, this creates a complex interplay of introspection, karmic reckoning, and practical recalibration. Mars in the 2nd house is never a passive energy. This placement tends to stir up fiery interactions within the family, impulsive expenditures, or heated arguments related to money and property. As the ruler of your 4th house, Mars brings themes of domestic matters, family property, and emotional attachments into sharp focus. This is the time where long-standing issues related to real estate, parental expectations, or even inheritance could surface. Discussions around shared property, home repairs, or household expenses could become points of contention. You may also feel an urgency to protect or assert your opinions and authority within the family structure. Since Mars is also the ruler of your 9th house, this adds a philosophical or moral overtone to these debates. You may feel justified in fighting for what you believe is right, but must be cautious about sounding self-righteous or inflexible. Virgo, being an earthy and analytical sign, can help temper some of Mars's impulsiveness, but it also makes Mars restless and prone to overthinking when in a material domain like the 2nd house. This can lead to mental stress around finances or constant concern about stability. You may feel compelled to work harder or strategize ways to increase savings, but there is a tendency to push too hard or act hastily when it comes to financial planning. Try not to make large investments or major purchases during this time unless you've thoroughly analyzed the risks. The 2nd house also governs speech, and Mars can make your tone sharper or more commanding than usual. Be especially mindful of how you speak to family members. Your words might come from a place of honesty but can still wound if delivered harshly. On a subtler level, Mars in the 2nd represents the fire of desire around wealth building and self-worth. You are likely evaluating your financial strategies and sense of self-esteem. Are you being paid enough? Are your talents being recognized and valued? These are the kinds of questions you might be wrestling with under this transit. This is a good time to renegotiate contracts, reassess how you earn, or take initiative to monetize a skill or idea. Remember that Mars in Virgo is prone to burnout when it pushes too hard. Pace yourself. The mutual aspect between Mars in Virgo and retrograde Saturn in Pisces, 8th house, adds a deeply karmic tone to this transit. The 2nd and 8th houses represent the axis of earned wealth versus shared resources, stability versus transformation, and what you control versus what life forces upon you. Saturn retrograde in the May 8th bring delays, audits, or scrutiny around insurance, taxes, joint assets, or inheritance matters. When Mars throws its aggressive aspect at this Saturn, you may feel frustrated by bureaucratic delays or secretive behavior from others regarding finances. Power struggles can emerge, especially involving family wealth, business partnerships, or property settlements. Avoid manipulative tendencies or coercion, as these will backfire under this heavy Saturn influence. Psychologically, this aspect also stirs suppressed fears about loss, instability, or vulnerability. You may be more guarded or defensive in your personal interactions, particularly with those you feel emotionally or financially dependent on. The lesson here is to examine where your sense of security truly comes from. Mars-Saturn interactions are tough but build resilience. If you've been avoiding necessary changes in how you manage resources, this transit will force you to face them head-on. On the upside, this is a powerful period for deep research, psychological healing, or tackling complicated long-term projects that require focus and discipline. The situation becomes more introspective with Mercury retrograding in Cancer, your 12th house, and conjuncting the Sun, your ruling planet. This combination marks a phase of mental retreat, spiritual reflection, and behind-the-scenes processing. Mercury rules Virgo, where Mars is transiting, and as it retrogrades through your 12th, it signals that not all information is visible on the surface. You may feel more withdrawn, confused, or reflective during this period. Thoughts of the past, unresolved emotions, or subconscious fears may cloud your usual clarity. Dreams may become more vivid, and your intuition might be heightened, but also harder to trust due to Mercury's backward motion. This is not the best time to make hard financial decisions unless they've been planned out for some time. Use this period to review, research, and recharge. The conjunction of Mercury and Sun in your 12th house may also expose hidden information or long-buried feelings, especially related to family, health, or work-life balance. Since the Sun is your sign ruler, and Mercury governs your second house transit, Virgo, this combination can feel like a mental detox, forcing you to reevaluate how you express yourself, what you truly need, and what subconscious beliefs may be sabotaging your ability to attract abundance or peace. Health issues related to digestion, nerves, or speech may also surface. Pay attention to your body's signals. Adding to this intense inner recalibration is Ketu's ongoing transit through Leo, your first house. Ketu is the planet of detachment, spiritualization, and past life karmas. Its presence in your first house indicates a deep sense of soul-searching, identity shifts, and sometimes a feeling of disconnection from the material or ego-based world. While this can be spiritually elevating, it can also bring confusion around your goals or create a sense of burnout if you are pushing too hard in the external world. With Mars pushing hard for material reorganization in the second, and Ketu dissolving egoic certainty in the first, this is a time to find a new definition of success, one that blends spiritual wisdom with material practicality. Your ability to manage this transit depends largely on your willingness to let go of attachments to power, recognition, or control, especially in family and financial matters. Mars in Virgo offers a chance to take disciplined, conscious action, but its full power can only be harnessed when combined with Saturn's long-term vision and Mercury's reflective wisdom. This is a time to practice financial honesty, compassionate speech, and strategic planning. Your values are shifting. Use this time to realign your material world with your evolving soul purpose. Overall, the Mars transit through Virgo activates serious themes of money, family dynamics, inner values, and personal power for Leo individuals. With simultaneous influences from a retrograde Saturn, a retrograde Mercury in the 12th, and Ketu in the 1st, this period is not about reckless action, but about slow, deliberate transformation. It is a test of your ability to stay grounded while your inner and outer world undergoes structural and karmic changes. Let go of what no longer holds value. Redefine what truly matters. Use the fire of Mars not to destroy, but to refine. For Virgo, the upcoming Mars transit through Virgo is an especially significant and transformative phase, as Mars moves through your first house, the house of self, identity, body, vitality, and outward expression. Mars governs your third house, courage, communication, siblings, skills, effort, and eighth house, transformation, hidden matters, longevity, secrets, sudden events, and when it transits the first house, it amplifies your assertiveness, energy levels, and desire to take initiative, but also tests your inner balance, patience, and maturity. The presence of retrograde Saturn in Pisces, forming a mutual aspect with Mars from your 7th house, adds a complex layer of karmic reflection, relationship testing, and emotional tension. At the same time, your sign Lord Mercury is retrograding in Cancer, your 11th house, and is conjunct the Sun, intensifying the mental and social reevaluation occurring in the background. With Mars energizing your first house, your presence becomes bolder and more noticeable. People will perceive you as more dynamic, driven, and perhaps even a bit aggressive during this time. You may feel a sudden surge of ambition, a restless desire to change your appearance, lifestyle, or personal approach. This can be extremely productive if channeled wisely. You can initiate new ventures, assert boundaries more firmly, and take steps toward personal empowerment. It's also easy to go overboard. Mars in the first house can make one impatient, combative, or impulsive. You may struggle with controlling anger or experience clashes with those who try to challenge you. Since Mars rules the 3rd and 8th houses, both connected to intensity and risk-taking, you must be careful not to act without thinking, especially when it comes to confrontations, communication, or handling dangerous tools or vehicles. This transit often activates the body in intense ways. You might be more physically active, motivated to pursue fitness goals, or push your physical limits, but Mars also brings potential for burns, cuts, inflammation, or accidents. Prioritize safety in all physical activities. Also watch for signs of rising heat in the body. Headaches, indigestion, fevers, or blood pressure fluctuations may occur if stress levels are not managed. Since the 8th house deals with chronic or deep-seated health issues, this Mars transit may stir underlying health concerns that need immediate attention. If anything in your physical or emotional well-being has been ignored, this is the time it will surface. With Mars as the 3rd house lord coming to the 1st house, your communication style becomes more direct, even confrontational. You may take bold stands in conversations, become more outspoken in public or private life, or suddenly feel inspired to write, speak, or share something personal and passionate. While this can bring leadership opportunities or attract attention, it's also essential to temper your tone. Mars doesn't always care for diplomacy. It says what needs to be said without cushioning the message. Be mindful of how you speak, especially with siblings, peers, or coworkers. Frustration, if unaddressed, could escalate into arguments. The influence of the 8th house is subtler but far-reaching. Mars brings the energies of transformation, secrecy, and the unknown into your conscious experience. You may find yourself diving into research, studies, psychology, or matters related to death, rebirth, or hidden power dynamics. There may be a need to deal with insurance, taxes, loans, or joint finances. This is a powerful time to shed old fears, outdated behaviors, or toxic habits that sabotage your growth. But Mars in the first can make you impatient with the slow and subtle nature of the 8th house's lessons. Allow this transit to open you to deeper self-awareness, even if it requires facing uncomfortable truths. What significantly complicates the Mars transit is its mutual aspect with retrograde Saturn in Pisces, your 7th house of partnerships and others. This opposition can create tension between your personal desires and the expectations or resistance of others, especially spouses, business partners, or close collaborators. Saturn retrograde here is not light. It delays, reflects, and tests. You may feel unsupported in your relationships or find that others are mirroring your own internal resistance. This Mars-Saturn dynamic brings frustration but also forces maturity. It may expose codependency, emotional distance, or unresolved karmic themes in your one-on-one relationships. If there's been a history of imbalance, these issues will rise to the surface now. Handle with awareness, not impulse. The 7th house is also the mirror of the self, what you project onto others. This mutual aspect reveals where you might be overcompensating, overasserting, or resisting collaboration. Relationships can feel like battlegrounds during this period unless approached with conscious effort. If both partners are mature and communicative, this can be a powerful time to restructure dynamics, redefine boundaries, and emerge with a stronger, more committed connection. For those in professional partnerships or client-based work, there may be delays, contractual complications, or demanding negotiations. Patience and clarity are essential. Adding to this complexity is the condition of your chart ruler, Mercury, which is retrograding in Cancer, your 11th house, and conjunct the Sun. The 11th house represents social networks, long-term goals, income from profession, friendships, and affiliations. Mercury retrograde here invites a deep re-examination of your social aspirations, your place in a group or community, and your alignment with your long-term desires. Past connections may reappear, or you may find yourself reconsidering old dreams. Mercury conjunct the Sun adds a sense of purification. It can bring clarity, but only after confusion or ego conflict. You may feel misunderstood by your peers or experience delays in professional recognition or financial gains. This entire setup, Mars in 1st, Mercury retrograde in 11th, mutual aspect from Saturn in 7th, asks you to be highly intentional about your words, your reactions, and your alliances. Don't rush to start new projects or relationships during this time unless you've done the emotional and logistical groundwork. Instead, use this window to refine your goals, clear karmic entanglements in relationships, and channel Mars's fire into rebuilding your self-image with greater discipline and resilience. Mars can also feel conflicted in Virgo, a sign that prefers analysis over action, planning over passion. This internal mismatch can lead to overthinking, anxiety, or irritation when things don't go according to plan. Don't let perfectionism paralyze your progress. Channel Mars's assertive force into strategic action rather than reactive impulses. Focus on improving your health, appearance, and communication style. Avoid aggression or trying to dominate situations. This will only escalate Saturn's resistance from the 7th. Overall, this transit marks a pivotal period of self-assertion, relationship recalibration, and transformation of identity for Virgo individuals. Mars is waking you up to your true desires and your latent power, but it will challenge you to stay humble, strategic, and spiritually attuned. Saturn's aspect insists you mature emotionally, while Mercury retrograde calls you to clarify your ideals and clean up past entanglements. If you can find balance between initiative and reflection, between personal will and mutual cooperation, this transit can propel you into a new phase of leadership, authenticity, and clarity. For Libra, the transit of Mars through Virgo, your 12th house is a deeply karmic, spiritually charged, and introspective period. Mars, the ruler of your 2nd house, wealth, speech, values, and 7th house, marriage, partnerships, public dealings, moving into the 12th house, brings both subtle and potent influences to your life. The 12th house governs isolation, foreign lands, hidden enemies, subconscious mind, sleep, losses, and spiritual liberation. With this transit, the assertive, fiery Mars enters a domain that softens its external expression, often redirecting energy inward, making it difficult to assert yourself outwardly in traditional ways. This energy intensifies further due to the mutual aspect between Mars and retrograde Saturn in Pisces, your 6th house, setting the stage for karmic cleansing, emotional detox, and secretive power struggles. At the same time, Mercury, Virgo's ruler, is retrograding in Cancer, your 10th house of career and reputation, while your sign lord Venus is conjunct Jupiter in Gemini, your 9th house of Dharma, luck, and higher learning. All of this creates a potent web of themes concerning partnerships, purpose, and subconscious realignment. Mars, by nature, is an active and assertive planet, and in the 12th house, its fire gets submerged into the vast ocean of the subconscious. This often manifests as a period of internal tension, suppressed anger, or a sense of fatigue and spiritual restlessness. You may find yourself needing more solitude or sleep, or becoming increasingly sensitive to your environment. Because Mars rules your 2nd and 7th houses, both critical to interpersonal relationships and material resources, this transit could activate themes of private conflicts, hidden resentments in partnerships, expenditures, or financial drains. There may be a feeling of being cut off or misunderstood in close relationships, or even sudden disagreements that arise behind closed doors. If any tension has been building silently in your marriage or business dealings, it may now surface in the form of emotional distance, miscommunication, or passive aggression. With Mars ruling your 2nd house of speech, this placement can cause difficulties in expressing yourself clearly or diplomatically. You may find yourself prone to saying things in haste, or being misunderstood, especially in emotionally charged moments. It's not uncommon to feel like others are not listening or appreciating your input during this transit, which can build frustration over time. The 12th house also rules losses and expenditures, so watch for unplanned or secretive financial outflows, especially those related to medical expenses, travel, or indulgences. This is a critical time to audit your spending habits and be cautious about lending money or making impulsive purchases. The 7th house rulership of Mars means that this transit directly affects your one-on-one relationships. You may feel that your partner is distant, or perhaps you are withdrawing emotionally or physically. There can be hidden tensions in marriages, long-term relationships, or business collaborations. This may not always be about open conflict. It can be the simmering silence, the unspoken expectations, or the invisible walls that create stress. For some, this may be a time of physical separation due to travel or work demands, or simply emotional disconnection that prompts introspection. If you're single, be cautious with secretive or karmic entanglements now, especially involving people from foreign backgrounds or emotionally unavailable dynamics. Affairs or hidden relationships can surface under this influence, leading to karmic consequences later. The mutual aspect between Mars and Virgo and retrograde Saturn in Pisces adds to the karmic weight of this transit. Saturn, now in your 6th house, is pulling you into themes of service, routine, health, and debts, while Mars in the 12th is activating the zone of retreat, isolation, and hidden enemies. This configuration could create a push-pull between your desire to break free and your sense of duty or unfinished karma. Health must be taken seriously now. Mars-Saturn aspects can indicate inflammation, stress-related ailments, digestive issues, or suppressed energy that manifests as sleep disturbances, chronic fatigue, or anxiety. It's important to maintain physical discipline, avoid overexertion, and find healthy outlets for your frustration, be it through physical exercise, meditation, journaling, or therapy. You might also feel spiritually tested during this time. The 12th house is often called the house of moksha, liberation, and when a planet like Mars enters it, there's often a need to let go of material attachments, ego-based desires, or control mechanisms. You may feel drawn towards spiritual practices, retreat spaces, or introspection. You might begin exploring subconscious patterns, trauma, or emotional baggage that has been limiting your growth. This is a powerful time to start healing work, therapy, or any deep internal process that helps you uncover and release old pain. The condition of Mercury, which rules Virgo, your 12th house, and is currently retrograde in Cancer, adds another layer of complexity. Mercury retrograde in the 10th house of career, public image, and responsibility, and conjunct the Sun, highlights professional reevaluations, misunderstandings with authority figures, and the need to reassess your goals. Since Mercury governs your 12th house, its retrograde suggests that much of what happens now, especially related to career or public perception, may be happening behind the scenes or through delays and revisions. Past professional actions or missteps could resurface for correction. You may also feel disconnected from your sense of purpose or unsure of how to move forward. This is not an ideal time to begin new professional ventures, but rather a time to reflect, revise, and regroup. Meanwhile, Venus, your sign lord, is transiting Gemini, your ninth house of Dharma, wisdom, long-distance journeys, and higher learning, and is conjunct expansive Jupiter. This is the one uplifting influence in this transit, pointing toward a time of philosophical exploration, guidance from teachers or mentors, and the possibility of re-establishing your belief in something larger than yourself. This can be a period where spiritual practices, religious rituals, or higher studies bring healing and perspective. If you're planning international travel, higher education, or seeking legal counsel, this could be a fruitful time, though Mercury's retrograde may cause some delays or redirections. The Venus-Jupiter conjunction also supports growth through relationships with people from diverse cultures or belief systems. It encourages you to find beauty and purpose in understanding life's deeper meaning. This can somewhat offset the isolation and uncertainty brought by Mars in the 12th, helping you reframe difficulties as opportunities for soul evolution. Beware of escapism or spiritual bypassing. Don't use ideology or lofty ideals to avoid dealing with practical issues, especially financial and relationship-related matters. Overall, Mars transiting your 12th house for Libra individuals is a period of intense internal work, emotional rebalancing, and spiritual detoxification. It may not be the most externally rewarding or visible time, but it is one of the most critical for realignment. With Saturn reflecting your habits and Mars stirring your subconscious, and Mercury challenging your career clarity, this is a time to go within, confront hidden fears, and recalibrate your direction. The Venus-Jupiter influence brings grace and higher wisdom, provided you're open to learning and surrendering control. This is not the time to force your way forward, but to listen closely to your body, your soul, and the messages hidden in the silence. For Scorpio, the transit of Mars through Virgo, your 11th house of gains, friendships, ambitions, social networks, and future goals is a significant period that activates your drive to achieve long-term aspirations and expand your network of influence. Mars, your sign lord as well as the ruler of your 6th house, debts, disease, enemies, discipline, and daily work, is well placed in the 11th house, a house of material gains and fulfillment of desires. This Mars transit boosts your determination to reach your goals and can bring tangible results for efforts already underway. There's a layer of caution and karmic testing involved, as Mars will mutually aspect retrograde Saturn in Pisces, your 5th house of intellect, romance, past life karma, and creative intelligence. Virgo's ruler Mercury is retrograding in Cancer, your 9th house of Dharma, long-distance travel, and belief systems, in conjunction with the Sun. These planetary dynamics offer a complex mix of ambition, opportunity, responsibility, and reckoning. Since Mars rules the 1st house, you, your body, your confidence, and 6th house, competitions, enemies, diseases, its transit in the 11th house means you are now channeling your core energy toward expanding your influence in the material world. The 11th house is associated with large networks, professional alliances, elder siblings, organizational goals, and community involvement. Mars here brings a high-octane drive to achieve recognition, increase financial income, overcome obstacles in your path, and defeat your competitors in a public or social setting. Your personality takes on a magnetic intensity during this time. You're assertive, focused, and may adopt a leadership role in collaborative spaces. You may find yourself naturally gravitating toward team leadership, project coordination, or networking with powerful allies who can support your vision. This is an excellent time to push forward on long-term goals, provided they're backed with discipline and strategic planning. Mars in Virgo demands precision, not recklessness. If you've been nurturing a dream, whether professional or creative, this transit supports its manifestation, especially if you've already put in the groundwork. Results come more easily now, though not without effort. Mars also sharpens your discernment about which associations help or hinder your growth. You might cut ties with toxic or unproductive friendships, group circles, or mentors who no longer align with your purpose. The focus here is on quality over quantity in your social sphere. The 6th house rulership of Mars means that issues related to workplace competition, service roles, debts, and hidden enemies may rise. But here in the 11th, you're positioned to conquer your rivals and gain victory over adversity. This is an ideal period for participating in competitive exams, office politics, legal matters, or anything where strategic thinking and inner strength are required. You may win accolades, promotions, or public praise for your courage and persistence. Financially, this can be a fruitful period. The 11th house relates to income, and with Mars here, you may experience a sudden spike in earnings, bonuses, or new sources of revenue, especially through side gigs or collaborative projects. Be wary of impulsive financial decisions, overworking, or burning bridges. Mars can make you overly aggressive or confrontational if not handled consciously. The mutual aspect between Mars in Virgo and retrograde Saturn in Pisces is a highly karmic influence that demands maturity, patience, and ethical conduct. Saturn in your 5th house focuses your attention on creativity, children, romance, and personal intelligence. Its retrograde motion brings past issues into focus. Unresolved matters regarding love, creative expression, or personal recognition may now require reevaluation. When this house is aspected by Mars, there can be a sense of pressure to perform, prove yourself, or take accountability for decisions made in the past. For those with children, this transit may bring serious conversations around their education, behavior, or responsibilities. In matters of romance, Mars-Saturn energy could signal emotional distancing, increased expectations, or karmic consequences of past actions. Be patient and avoid reactive behavior. This configuration pushes you to find balance between spontaneity and responsibility, between passion and principle. A major overlay to this transit is the Mercury retrograde in Cancer, your 9th house of higher beliefs, long journeys, gurus, and father figures, in conjunction with the Sun. The 9th house represents your philosophical foundation, your life path, and the larger meaning that governs your choices. With Mercury, the dispositor of Mars, going retrograde here, your sense of purpose and guiding belief systems come under review. You may begin questioning long-held values, spiritual teachings, or educational pursuits. Guidance from a mentor or authority figure may become unclear, or a past influence may resurface to challenge your current worldview. Travel plans, legal matters, or higher education pursuits may face delays or revisions. But these setbacks are not obstacles. They are chances to redefine your truth and reorient toward a higher version of yourself. This retrograde also amplifies your internal voice. Mercury in the 9th, especially when retrograde, prompts philosophical introspection. Mars' involvement here indicates that your current ambitions, 11th house, must align with your true dharma, 9th house, in order to be sustainable. Avoid making impulsive decisions regarding your future until Mercury goes direct. Another important layer is the Sun-Mercury conjunction in Cancer, a combination for intellectual clarity, though it comes after a period of confusion. This combination is helpful for finding wise mentors or advisors, and for engaging in spiritual or philosophical writing. If you're involved in teaching, publishing, or media, this can be a productive time for content revision, rebranding, or rediscovering your voice. For Scorpio individuals, this entire configuration encourages a shift from raw ambition to purposeful action, from conflict to clarity, and from external rewards to internal alignment. You're being asked to ground your goals in spiritual maturity, ethical clarity, and conscious leadership. This Mars transit is powerful because it activates your personal and karmic houses, 1st and 6th, and channels them into a collective field, 11th. The more you align your personal desires with a cause greater than yourself, the more gains you'll receive, not just materially, but also in influence, respect, and peace of mind. On a health level, Mars in the 11th, ruling the 6th, may bring stress-related ailments if you overwork yourself. Watch for muscle tension, inflammation, or minor accidents due to haste. Prioritize movement and mindfulness. Your energy may be highly driven, but Saturn's influence requires that you pace yourself and not sacrifice health for ambition. Overall, Mars transiting Virgo in your 11th house is a powerful period of goal fulfillment, financial advancement, and public recognition, but it requires discipline, integrity, and emotional maturity. The mutual aspect with retrograde Saturn highlights karmic themes around creativity, romance, and responsibility, while Mercury retrograde in the 9th house urges you to revisit your beliefs and refine your spiritual path. The key to navigating this period successfully lies in channeling passion into purpose, releasing control where necessary, and choosing wise alliances over short-term victories. For Sagittarius, the transit of Mars into Virgo will occur in your 10th house, the most important Kendra or angular house in the chart that governs career, professional status, public image, authority, karma, and life direction. Mars here becomes powerfully placed, as it gains directional strength in the 10th house, enabling you to take bold, assertive, and dynamic steps in your professional life. Mars rules your 12th house, loss, isolation, expenses, spiritual liberation, and your 5th house, intelligence, education, children, speculative gains, and romance, making this transit layered with both karmic intensity and opportunities for creative impact. This phase is not without challenges, as Mars in Virgo will be in mutual aspect with retrograde Saturn in Pisces, placed in your 4th house, bringing focus to home, emotional stability, real estate, and family issues. Virgo's Lord Mercury is retrograding in Cancer, your 8th house, and is closely conjunct the Sun, your 9th Lord. Your chart Lord Jupiter is transiting Gemini, the 7th house, in conjunction with Venus, highlighting themes of relationship dynamics and long-term contracts. At its core, Mars in the 10th house activates your ambition, drive for recognition, and professional independence. This is a time when you feel an intense calling to make your mark in your chosen field, or even shift toward a profession that aligns more directly with your purpose. Mars, being a fiery and action-oriented planet, pushes you to take bold initiatives, launch a new project, accept greater responsibility, or even challenge outdated hierarchies in your workspace. You may feel the need to take charge, lead teams, or independently steer projects rather than simply following instructions. There is strong potential for success during this time, especially for those in careers linked to engineering, defense, sports, administration, surgery, legal fields, or anything requiring courage and problem-solving abilities. Since Mars rules your 5th house, this transit also brings the creative, intellectual, and strategic aspects of your mind into focus. You are now able to bring originality and innovative thinking into your profession. This could be an excellent period for people working in education, consulting, media, entertainment, or digital platforms, as your ideas may receive recognition, especially if you've been patiently working behind the scenes. With Virgo being an earth sign governed by Mercury, attention to detail, analytical thinking, and precision become key themes. Mars here doesn't work well with half-baked plans. It demands perfection, and your ability to deliver quality under pressure will be closely watched by superiors or clients. On the flip side, Mars' association with your 12th house adds a karmic and psychological undercurrent to this transit. While the 10th house deals with visible karma, career and actions, the 12th house involves hidden karmas, past life debts, and spiritual isolation. As the 12th lord activates the 10th, you may feel a simultaneous urge to succeed and withdraw, perhaps questioning whether your current path aligns with your spiritual or moral compass. Some of you may feel the desire to take a break from conventional roles, explore sabbaticals, spiritual retreats, or even consider a profession abroad. Foreign travel or working with international clients may also be indicated. On a more challenging note, you may experience sudden expenses or losses related to your professional responsibilities, especially if you rush into decisions or ignore ethical considerations. The mutual aspect between Mars and retrograde Saturn adds a layer of tension and karmic balancing to this transit. Saturn, transiting your 4th house, retrograde in Pisces, forces you to re-examine matters related to home, emotional grounding, family dynamics, and real estate. Mars' aspect from the 10th house can create a conflict between professional ambitions and personal peace. You may feel torn between duties at home and demands at work. Some may consider relocation, restructuring domestic responsibilities, or confronting long-standing family issues. If you've been suppressing emotional burdens or delaying property decisions, these matters may now erupt, demanding your immediate attention. The key here is to approach challenges with discipline, emotional maturity, and patience, rather than frustration or escapism. This Saturn-Mars combination is often karmic in nature. The houses involved, the 4th and 10th, form an axis of Griha versus Karma, or the home versus the world. This transit may test how well you can balance the two. It's a period where your professional success will demand inner resilience, and emotional upheavals must be handled in a structured, mature way if you want long-term results. Meanwhile, the Virgo Lord Mercury is retrograding in Cancer, your 8th house, and is conjunct the Sun, who is your 9th house Lord. The 8th house deals with transformation, hidden matters, psychological depth, shared resources, sudden events, and inheritance. Mercury retrograde here suggests that some past issues related to joint finances, insurance, taxes, or emotional entanglements may surface again. You may also feel the need to research more deeply, keep secrets, or uncover hidden truths that affect your decisions. Since the Sun, ruler of your 9th house, is also involved, matters related to law, higher education, father figures, or dharma may go through a phase of intense scrutiny. This can be a powerful time for healing, but only if you're willing to be brutally honest with yourself. Avoid making impulsive financial or legal decisions until clarity returns post-retrograde. Adding another important layer, your sign ruler Jupiter is transiting Gemini, your 7th house of partnerships, with Venus. You may form alliances that are financially beneficial or collaborate with charismatic, knowledgeable individuals. Jupiter-Venus here can also bring romantic proposals, marriage discussions, or public recognition through a partner. Venus also rules the 6th house of obstacles, so you must ensure that new partnerships are not masking power struggles or hidden agendas. Contracts signed during this time must be carefully reviewed, especially with Mercury retrograde. On a more psychological level, Mars in Virgo sharpens your critical mind, which can make you overly perfectionistic or impatient with others. Try not to let this urge for control turn into frustration, especially with coworkers or subordinates. Your leadership will be tested not only by how decisively you act but also by how wisely you delegate and communicate. Mars-Saturn mutual aspect can make tempers flare or bring about passive-aggressive dynamics in both professional and domestic settings. This is a time to cultivate discipline, delegation, and tact. Health-wise, the 12th Lord Mars in the 10th and mutual aspect to Saturn can occasionally create fatigue, back pain, or stress-related conditions, particularly from overworking. Sleep may be disturbed, and anxieties about performance can trigger burnout if you don't pace yourself. Overall, the Mars transit through Virgo for Sagittarius individuals activates a powerful desire to build, lead, and transform your professional life. And if aligned with purpose and discipline, this can be a breakthrough period for career success. It comes with tests of emotional maturity, karmic rebalancing between home and work, and the need to revisit belief systems, family issues, and subconscious fears. The planetary web also encourages clarity in contracts, spiritual introspection, and long-term planning. Let your fire be guided by wisdom rather than impulse, and you will rise with both respect and impact. For Capricorn, the transit of Mars into Virgo, your 9th house of Dharma, fortune, higher education, long-distance travel, and philosophical beliefs, marks a significant period of directional shift, vision setting, and deeper spiritual reflection. Mars, a fiery and dynamic planet, rules over your 11th house, gains, networks, ambitions, social circles, and your 4th house, home, emotional peace, real estate, inner security. The interplay of these house significations in the 9th suggests that your desires for expansion, recognition, and intellectual growth now find fertile ground through teachers, foreign connections, and moral principles. Mars will remain in Virgo, and during this time, its influence is magnified by the mutual aspect with retrograde Saturn, your sign lord, currently transiting Pisces, your 3rd house of courage, communication, and effort. At the same time, Mercury, the lord of Virgo, is retrograding in Cancer, your 7th house, and closely conjunct the Sun, which governs your 8th house. Mars, by nature, is driven, ambitious, and action-oriented. Its placement in the 9th house for Capricorn individuals energizes your drive to explore new frontiers, intellectually, spiritually, or geographically. This transit fuels your hunger for knowledge, learning, and self-expansion. You may find yourself strongly motivated to pursue higher education, get involved with foreign institutions, travel to distant places for academic or spiritual reasons, or simply reevaluate your philosophical stance on life. With Virgo being an analytical and detail-driven sign, your pursuit of higher truth will not be abstract or dreamy. It will be rooted in logic, research, and critical evaluation. You will want answers that make sense and align with real-world experience. Since Mars rules your 11th house, this transit also ties your long-term ambitions and social influence to your belief systems and sense of purpose. During this time, the kind of success you strive for will likely be linked to intellectual credibility, ethical leadership, and collaborative efforts with educators, mentors, or foreign contacts. You may attract opportunities for publishing, teaching, online outreach, or community engagement through philosophical or educational platforms. Alternatively, you might become more vocal or active about your values, especially in the public domain. It is essential to check if your vision aligns with your ethics and long-term purpose, because Mars in the 9th can become aggressive or dogmatic if not tempered by humility. On the domestic side, Mars also rules your 4th house, which governs your emotional security, mother, real estate, and inner peace. Its transit through the 9th could trigger emotional restlessness or a desire to find home elsewhere, possibly in a foreign country, spiritual institution, or even through higher education. Some of you might explore moving to another city or abroad, investing in education-related property, or dealing with family issues connected to differing belief systems or long-held generational patterns. Emotional fulfillment during this transit will come not from stability but from growth. Stepping out of your comfort zone will ironically feel more grounding than staying in place. Mars in Virgo mutual aspects with retrograde Saturn in Pisces, your 3rd house. This aspect creates an intense karmic push and pull between your desire to expand, Mars in 9th, and the need for patient, calculated effort, Saturn in 3rd. Saturn, being your chart ruler, holds immense significance. Retrograde Saturn is currently asking you to revisit your communication patterns, mental discipline, relationships with siblings, and the way you assert your ideas or take action in daily life. The aspect from Mars brings a fiery impatience and boldness, urging you to act quickly, push your boundaries, and assert your beliefs. But Saturn's retrograde motion says, not so fast. You may face inner or external resistance to your ideas, particularly from your environment, colleagues, or siblings. This push-pull dynamic can be productive if handled correctly. Saturn demands that your beliefs be tested through consistent effort, evidence, and patience. You might feel frustrated if others don't immediately resonate with your views or if your plans face delays, especially involving legal, academic, or travel-related matters. But these delays are part of Saturn's lesson, teaching you to persevere, refine your message, and develop mastery in your communication. Those engaged in writing, teaching, digital content creation, or journalism may find this transit pivotal for redefining their voice and message. You may also revisit or resume a writing or teaching project that was left incomplete in the past. Adding another layer of complexity is Mercury's retrograde in Cancer, your 7th house of relationships, business partnerships, and legal contracts, where it is conjunct the Sun, Lord of your 8th house, shared assets, transformation, hidden matters. This combination can bring deep introspection, karmic revisits, and emotional revelations in your partnerships. Old patterns in one-on-one relationships, romantic or professional, could resurface for healing or resolution. You may need to reevaluate contracts, marriage agreements, business deals, or even the balance of power in close relationships. Since Mercury is also the dispositor of Mars and is currently retrograde, your forward movement in 9th house matters, travel, publishing, academia, may feel obstructed or unclear. It's important to avoid jumping to conclusions or rushing decisions. Instead, take this time to revisit what you believe about relationships, commitment, and mutual responsibility. The presence of the Sun in the 7th, tightly conjunct retrograde Mercury, may also amplify ego-related confrontations in partnerships. Be wary of power struggles, misunderstandings, or dominance issues, especially as Mars energy can heighten the intensity of how you assert yourself. You'll be called to balance courage with compassion, conviction with humility. For those involved in joint ventures or undergoing legal proceedings, clarity may emerge only after Mercury goes direct. Until then, review all paperwork carefully. This transit may prompt spiritual breakthroughs or mentorship connections that change your worldview entirely. You could meet teachers, guides, or even partners who challenge your old beliefs and help you grow beyond them. With Mars ruling both the 4th and 11th houses, the spiritual or intellectual evolution you're undergoing now could have a direct impact on your future goals, emotional well-being, and community involvement. On the health front, the Saturn-Mars mutual aspect could cause stress in the nervous system, upper back, shoulders, or respiratory issues if you overextend yourself or suppress frustrations. Mental burnout is also possible if you don't allow yourself time to decompress. Meditation, regular journaling, or a disciplined intellectual practice like daily reading or prayer can help ground your energy. Overall, for Capricorn individuals, Mars transiting Virgo brings a bold fire to your higher aspirations, pushing you to claim your space in the intellectual or spiritual realm. Your beliefs, teaching capacity, and moral compass come into sharp focus, and how you act on them can determine long-term growth. Due to the involvement of Saturn, Mercury retrograde, and 8th house energies, this period requires thoughtful reflection, patience, and humility. You may find your worldview shifting, your partnerships evolving, and your professional goals expanding beyond previous boundaries. Trust that the delays and inner questioning are part of a larger karmic recalibration that, if navigated with maturity, can set you on a more aligned and purposeful path. For Aquarius, the transit of Mars into Virgo, your 8th house, marks a period of intense inner transformation, emotional recalibration, and deep karmic shifts. Mars, a planet of drive, action, and assertion, governs your 10th house of career, public status, authority, and your 3rd house of communication, courage, skills, and effort. Its placement in the 8th house, the domain of secrets, sudden events, psychological depth, shared resources, and spiritual rebirth, brings a potent, complex blend of visible ambition and invisible transformation. Mars will form a mutual aspect with retrograde Saturn in Pisces, your 2nd house of wealth, speech, family, and values, further intensifying the themes of inner reorganization and external responsibility. The Lord of Virgo, Mercury, is currently retrograde in Cancer, your 6th house of health, daily routines, conflicts, and service, conjunct the Sun, ruler of your 7th house. These planetary alignments, combined with Rahu's transit through Aquarius, your 1st house, suggest that profound changes are underway, changes that will test your resilience, rewire your belief systems, and prepare you for a new chapter of personal empowerment. Mars, when placed in the 8th house, activates areas of life that often remain beneath the surface: secrets, taboos, shared assets, inheritances, debts, intimacy, and inner fears. This house is also closely linked with sudden gains or losses, karmic retribution, and psychological healing. For Aquarius individuals, Mars here can stir deep emotional restlessness and an urge to confront what lies hidden, whether within yourself or in close partnerships. You may find that your usual detached Aquarian approach doesn't work during this transit. Mars forces you to feel, confront, and purge. This could manifest as a desire to break out of emotional or financial entanglements that feel limiting, or it may push you to investigate your partner's financial or emotional truth more closely. There may be a preoccupation with debts, insurance, taxation, or joint ventures during this time, especially ones tied to family, business partnerships, or legacies. Since Mars rules your 10th house, its transit through the 8th can bring sudden career shifts, intense power struggles at work, or an urge to move away from a career that no longer serves your soul's growth. You might start questioning the deeper meaning behind your professional goals. This is a time when your career direction could feel uncertain or blocked, not because you're lacking ambition, but because you're being asked to rebuild your public identity on a more authentic foundation. For some, this can also indicate abrupt changes in status, resignations, role reassignments, leadership shakeups, or being pushed into crisis management roles. Mars also governs your 3rd house, so communication, travel, and personal initiative are also under its influence. In the 8th house, this could lead to secretive conversations, intense research, or deep personal revelations. You may prefer to work behind the scenes or withdraw temporarily from active social life to dive deeper into mental or emotional work. Writers, therapists, healers, and researchers can benefit from this placement, but it requires patience and emotional stamina. Relationships with siblings or neighbors might also feel tense or distant during this period, possibly due to unresolved issues or differing priorities. A key factor shaping this transit is the mutual aspect between Mars in Virgo and retrograde Saturn in Pisces, your 2nd house. Saturn, your sign lord, governs structure, responsibility, and karma, and its retrograde motion invites deep reflection on your values, speech, wealth, and family ties. The aspect from Mars can trigger tension between what you value internally and what you are being pushed to confront externally. You might feel compelled to make drastic changes in your financial habits or speak your truth in situations that have long felt oppressive. Yet Saturn's retrograde influence can slow down these actions or make them feel heavy and obligation-ridden. The 2nd house also relates to speech and communication, and with Saturn retrograde here, coupled with Mars' fiery influence, there is a danger of harsh or impulsive words causing damage in family or professional settings. You may feel like expressing long-repressed truths, but Saturn warns you to do so with caution, respect, and maturity. The mutual aspect also impacts finances, particularly shared wealth and inherited resources. Delays in loans, family inheritance matters, or business profit sharing may test your patience. These delays can be beneficial, urging you to adopt a more long-term, strategic approach to wealth. Meanwhile, Mercury, the Lord of Virgo, Mars transit sign, is retrograding through Cancer, your 6th house, where it conjoins the Sun. This draws attention to daily routines, health, service, subordinates, and legal disputes, along with marital or business partnerships, as the Sun rules your 7th house. Health issues, particularly related to the digestive system, reproductive organs, or nervous tension, could flare up due to stress, repressed anger, or overexertion. Mars in the 8th often triggers latent health problems if ignored. Mercury retrograde here suggests the need to revise your routines, reevaluate work-life balance, or attend to old conflicts that resurface with coworkers or in business dealings. You may need to revisit old documents, contracts, or unpaid dues. This retrograde Mercury conjunct the Sun also means that ego clashes in partnerships could arise, especially if there's a lack of shared responsibility or transparency. It's vital to avoid miscommunications in health and legal matters. Try to delay any major new job offers, health decisions, or legal filings until Mercury turns direct. Take this time to review, reassess, and refine, not initiate or finalize. Finally, the presence of Rahu in Aquarius, your 1st house, adds a layer of intensity to your personal development. Rahu amplifies identity, image, and personal desires, often making you more ambitious, experimental, or unpredictable. Combined with Mars' deep and transformative 8th house journey, this is a time when you may shed an old skin and emerge with a more powerful, magnetic, and psychologically aware identity. But Rahu also brings obsession and illusion. Be mindful not to chase validation, power, or taboo connections without considering long-term consequences. Your relationships may undergo subtle yet profound changes, and hidden truths could come to light. Romantic partners may act distant or enigmatic, while you may feel an inexplicable urge to detach and reassess your intimacy needs. This isn't a time for surface-level connections. Your soul craves depth, truth, and transformation. Trust the urge to retreat, reflect, and rewire. There may be karmic endings or new soul contracts unfolding behind the scenes. Keep your energy clean, and avoid people or situations that carry heavy emotional baggage. Overall, for Aquarius individuals, Mars transit through the 8th house activates a profound alchemical process, one that touches career, communication, wealth, health, and self-image. The mutual aspect with retrograde Saturn pushes you to face your financial and emotional limitations with maturity, while Mercury's retrograde reminds you to slow down, clean up your daily systems, and revisit past decisions. And with Rahu amplifying your presence in the first house, you are being asked to grow into a new version of yourself, but only after releasing emotional baggage, shadow beliefs, and toxic dependencies. This is not a time to seek superficial achievements, but a time to reclaim your power by embracing vulnerability, restructuring your core values, and preparing for a powerful rebirth. For Pisces, the transit of Mars through Virgo brings the red planet into your 7th house, a significant and sensitive part of the chart that governs marriage, committed partnerships, business alliances, contracts, negotiations, and public interactions. Mars, a planet of aggression, drive, and assertion, rules your 9th house of higher learning, dharma, long-distance travel, mentors, and fortune, and also your 2nd house of speech, family, food habits, and accumulated wealth. Thus, its journey through the 7th house activates important aspects of your relationship dynamics, your karmic beliefs, your finances, and your ability to balance personal desires with the demands of others. This becomes an especially complex and transformative period because Mars in Virgo is mutually aspecting retrograde Saturn in Pisces, your 1st house, highlighting a tug-of-war between self and others, action and restraint, desire and responsibility. Mars in the 7th house is never a quiet transit. It tends to agitate relationship matters, often forcing repressed conflicts to the surface. Mars assertive. At times, confrontational energy doesn't sit easily in a house that seeks harmony and mutual cooperation. For Pisces individuals, this can manifest as friction with a spouse or business partner, especially if there have been unresolved issues simmering below the surface. Since Mars also governs your 2nd house, matters related to joint finances, family expectations, or disagreements over values and responsibilities may escalate. Misunderstandings around money, shared duties in the household, or even extended family interference could cause turbulence in marital life. This is not necessarily negative. Mars in the 7th often acts as a catalyst, shaking the foundations of your closest partnerships so that you are forced to evaluate whether they are built on trust and mutual respect. If you're single, this transit may trigger intense attraction to someone who is assertive, intellectual, or even foreign. But be cautious. Mars may spark quick developments, but its impulsive energy can also lead to misjudgments or emotional burnout if deeper compatibility is overlooked. In business matters, this transit makes you highly competitive and goal-oriented. You may enter new agreements or face fierce competition in public dealings. If you're involved in legal matters or contract negotiations, expect tensions to rise. You may be dealing with partners or clients who are demanding or critical, pushing you to defend your boundaries more assertively. Mars here can also give you charisma and commanding presence in public. Your ability to influence and persuade improves, though you must watch for being perceived as too aggressive or self-centered. The mutual aspect between Mars in Virgo and retrograde Saturn in Pisces adds depth, weight, and karmic themes to this period. Saturn in the 1st house already makes you more inwardly cautious, grounded, and reflective. When Mars looks at it from the 7th house, a direct tension arises between your personal goals and identity and the demands of partnership or collaboration. You may feel emotionally restricted or burdened by responsibilities toward a partner, or find that you must shoulder more than your share of the load. Saturn retrograde prompts introspection and accountability, while Mars wants action. This can create an internal tug, wanting to move forward in a relationship, but feeling hesitant due to emotional or practical constraints. This aspect also plays out in long-distance relationships, spiritual beliefs, and legal issues, since Mars rules the 9th house. You might question whether a certain alliance or belief system still aligns with who you're becoming. Travel plans, especially with partners, could get delayed or face logistical issues. In a few cases, foreign associations or distant mentors may challenge you to take a firmer stand or reevaluate your values. Mars also rules your 2nd house, making your speech more blunt, forceful, and possibly confrontational during this transit. Be careful with how you communicate with your spouse or family members, especially over financial issues. Unfiltered words or criticism could lead to unnecessary misunderstandings. If you're working on joint ventures or business partnerships, be very clear in writing and documentation, as there may be legal or tax-related complications. Meanwhile, Virgo's Lord Mercury is retrograding in Cancer, your 5th house, conjunct the Sun, which governs your 6th house of health, conflict, daily routine, and service. This brings another layer of introspection and realignment. The 5th house governs love, children, creativity, and speculative gains, and Mercury retrograde here suggests that past romantic issues or unresolved matters with children could resurface. There may be delays or revisions in creative projects, or a need to reassess your approach to parenting or emotional expression. Since the Sun is involved, ego battles or authority issues, perhaps with your own children or romantic interests, could become apparent. This can affect how you show up in partnerships as well, especially if there's unresolved emotional baggage you're bringing into the 7th house dynamics. Mercury retrograde in the 5th house also cautions against hasty investments or gambling activities. Refrain from making quick decisions in speculative markets during this transit. The Sun here may highlight a desire to be seen, recognized, or validated through creative work or romantic efforts, but Mercury's backward motion urges you to step back and rethink your strategy, particularly before expressing important feelings or signing agreements. Adding to the dynamic energy, Jupiter, your ruling planet, is transiting Gemini, your 4th house, in conjunction with Venus, the planet of love, harmony, and luxury. This bodes well for domestic life, beautification of your home, emotional nurturing, and a desire to create comfort and stability. While Mars brings stress into one-on-one partnerships, Jupiter-Venus bless the home front and emotional foundation, helping you find comfort through creativity, family bonding, or real estate opportunities. There may be a desire to upgrade your living space or spend more time nurturing your inner world. This placement provides balance and helps soften the harsher aspects of the Mars-Saturn tension. Jupiter's influence may also act as a protective force, expanding your emotional intelligence and giving you the wisdom to handle tense relationships with grace and maturity. Venus softens Jupiter's sometimes overbearing moral stance, allowing you to connect with others more empathetically, even when conflicts arise. Overall, the Mars transit through Virgo for Pisces individuals is a relationship-focused, karmically charged, and emotionally intense period, with themes of negotiation, confrontation, self-discipline, and reassessment playing out across many levels. Mars activation of your 7th house compels you to examine the health, truth, and future of your partnerships, while the mutual aspect with Saturn demands accountability and long-term thinking. Mercury's retrograde in the 5th house highlights the emotional and ego dynamics behind your romantic or expressive choices, and Jupiter-Venus in the 4th offers emotional nourishment and creative grounding. The key to navigating this phase lies in being courageous yet thoughtful in your dealings with others, clear in communication, and willing to take responsibility for your role in every dynamic, whether it's love, business, or family. What seems like conflict now could, with maturity and inner clarity, become the seed of stronger, more authentic bonds. As we conclude this episode, please remember that these insights are based on sidereal or Vedic astrology, which accounts for the approximately 24-degree difference from the tropical zodiac. Individual predictions may vary, as every birth chart is unique. The influence of dasha periods and natal planetary placements can shape transits differently, both positively and negatively. It's essential to consider your own birth chart when applying these general predictions to your personal circumstances. If you'd like personalized predictions or have questions about your astrological chart, feel free to reach out to us. Stay tuned for more astrological updates. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel for more insightful astrology content. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to sharing more astrological wisdom with you in the future. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep shining bright.